So I don't know how to intro this. I'm really bad at intros.
We
I
got it again. We got it again. We had an offline recording with the same thing you just said. We got it again. That's it. That's the intro. Welcome to the AG Cast. I'm specifically naming it the AG Cast just to keep the branding together. I came up with it myself. So fucking just original content here at AGTV. AG Cast. You know, you couldn't think of any other word even if you tried.
exactly.
I'm Lou. This is Manny. The pioneer, the CEO, if you will, of AGTV, the man running the show. But sometimes it kind of runs away from him, so I gotta catch it.
Oh hell yeah! It runs real far sometimes.
Yeah. You know that
There's
is.
times it takes me about a month to catch up.
Yeah, a month and a mile.
exactly.
Although,
Yeah.
I guess running a mile in a month is kind of not the greatest thing if you think about it.
That's really bad if you can't run a mile in a month.
I guess with the lockdowns, that's kind of what everyone's doing anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of make this show a thing with you because I wanted to get these discussions going about, you know, I guess like I don't want to say like geek culture, just general like fandomish culture or whatever, like just stuff that I'm interested in and just have someone to bounce off of about it because there's a lot of stuff going on and I feel like that.
Oh yeah.
But with you being in the U.S. and me being in Japan, like we can even start covering stuff like anime as well, and like, you know.
Oh yeah, especially because the continent difference and country differences of what we get here versus over there in Japan, and you know the news that we hear, but versus anybody else that hears it. So.
Yeah, because a lot of this DC stuff, which we're gonna be talking about today. You know, people don't really even talk about it. I'll be honest. Like the comic book scene is not. It's almost non-existent as far as, you know, like physical comic books. You know, people don't read comic books here, and I think it has to do with more with there's a lack of localization companies in Japan that take things from America that are comic books over. I don't know if there's like some weird licensing fees that are too much. But it's almost barren. I don't know if there's an internet community, like a niche one, kind of like how anime is, or at least used to be in America. But it's barren. Aside from the movies, obviously, you know, like people really do watch a lot of the Marvel movies, so you know they'll know your typical like
yeah, of course, you know, all the Marvel movies because that's really the only like good comic book movies, at least as of late, you know, that's been coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you know, like the market for the comic book scene is just vastly different between the two. But I'm sure when we start covering anime stuff, we'll have definitely a back and forth about that because there's lots of crazy industry stuff going on in anime and in manga here, specifically domestically, and things in global stuff that also cross-sect into it and. I think that would be really interesting to do, but yeah, that was the basic idea that I thought that would work with this show, and you know we can.
And I truthfully I love it. It's definitely something that's I feel at least in for me it's I will say that's how actually this channel got started was by doing kind of like a vidcast or like, you know, podcast where we just kind of talk about news and, you know, nerd or geek culture, and you know, sadly, like things, you know, people move away or, you know, people are busy and, you know, life happens, and I'm kind of glad that I'm able to find someone that has been my best friend for like fucking years and
yeah,
able to catch up again.
Yeah,
so,
it's good that we've been keeping in touch, like even after all this time, anyway. So you know,
oh yeah,
it is what it is. But you know, I'm happy to start this, whether it runs into the ground or we lift it up into the sky, as you say. But yeah, I think just to get a little transition point, I have the article up that we can take a look at from Deadline,
Right.
and they're just covering the general news by WarnerMedia. I
Right.
honestly didn't know about this news until the Crunchyroll thing happened, because WarnerMedia like kind of owns like this general umbrella like Rooster Teeth and
Hmm. Well, it's that whole parent company on top of a parent company
yeah,
type
yeah,
of
exactly.
situation. But yeah,
So
so I did read up on this as well with Warner Media and like the massive cutoff. I think they had what about 800 layoffs.
yeah, so so,
Um.
so this article says 600, could be more. That's like an estimation. I wouldn't be surprised if it was
Hmm.
800, but they say about 600 employees were
Right.
confirmed. And this is after the DC Fandom online event, which, as you know, that was when they had this like just this trailer dump of all of their content that they were going to be releasing from like
Right.
next year. Um, right after this is what happened, uh, and I
Which is
think
quite surprising, like that they had such a massive event and then they get hit with this, just drop of, you know, layoffs. Just
yeah,
so.
I think it's kind of an intentional thing. They planned on doing the layoffs for a while, and I think what they wanted to do was um, mitigate that the negative appearance by having that
Hmm.
event and having all this content. Like the Zack Snyder cut has had a really good reaction so far. The game trailers have been great. The comic book arcs have been
Hmm.
fantastic so far. Aside from a few like writing quirks that I didn't really like, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But
Yeah.
this is just a PR thing because they had this concept ready to go already, and they were just picking
Hmm.
the right time to do it. And I think someone on one side and someone on the other side just kind of synced up and said, "Hey, we're kind of gonna have this thing going on with layoffs. Can you just kind of release this at around this time just to mitigate that?" I feel like that's what
That
might have happened.
that might as well could be. That's how I can kind of just balance things out and how the news is gonna portray DC and Warner Brothers at the moment. That's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't put it past
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Because I mean, now that things are a bit more transparent with these companies, you can kind of tell what the market move is. We want to appease the stockholders, still make money, and I think they're
Hmm.
at the end of the day, a lot of these guys up top, their bottom line is making profit and getting good PR. So,
Yeah,
uh,
of course. It's they're a business and they have to run a business to make money. It's not about feelings or anything like that. It's about, as you said, the bottom line is just getting the dollars in the door.
yeah, yeah, and I mean like to jump with that, I feel like there were similar patterns to, I guess, historically speaking, how Marvel kind of had a
Hmm.
rough history with their IPs when they had to sell off a bunch of their IPs off to different companies like Spider-Man to Sony
Right.
and X-Men to I mean to
To
Fox and things
Fox
like
and
that.
yeah, and truthfully, with back, like kind of relating to back when Marvel had that issue, they were close to bankruptcy. They had to do something. So DC. I feel like DC is kind of. I don't want to say they're in bankruptcy, but because I don't know their financials, but they can see that downward turn and they don't want to hit the same mistakes that other companies have made, so they're trying to make an upswing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, I think specifically because of Marvel's history is why they did that switch, because
Hmm.
they didn't want to lose their IPs. I think instead of I think what Marvel did is not do as many layoffs, but sell off IPs to kind of mitigate their bankruptcy. But
Hmm.
DC kind of did the layoffs first to keep their IPs. Especially in this
Yeah.
day and age, IPs are like key because
Oh
I
yeah.
think since the
Definitely.
late 20, I think the mid 2000s, I would say there it was just remake city. Everything was a remake of
Hmm.
something else, and up until now, everything's just been based off of content we already know. And keeping those IPs, I think, was probably their priority at that point.
Oh yeah, I definitely can agree with that, especially because as DC has seen with the Marvel IP, they are doing so well, and I feel like they kind of want, well, not kind of, I know that they want to make the same choices. That's how hopefully they can make the DC IP in terms of movies and comics and everything else be just as successful.
Right. Yeah. And I think those decisions kind of lean towards that. I
Hmm.
think that it's a positive change, but you can't help getting negative PR from doing layoffs. Like that's just a given. When any given company has to do layoffs to save money, like people are going to be like, oh well, and it's like you said before, it has to be about the bottom line at the end of the day. You don't want to lose like what you have, and you don't want to go into bankruptcy because of it.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
and that's really what they need to avoid, especially because one, and this kind of goes back into like the parent company of the parent company. AT&T owns Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers owns DC. So like the negative effects that AT&T is having is trickling down into the other companies.
right, right. And a lot of those
So
like yeah, and like you mentioned, those decisions kind of trickle down from the top. Any decisions that AT&T or the parent companies or whatever of DC on top of Warner Brothers, whatever that decisions are made financially or IP or business wise or whatever, it's going to trickle down and it's going to affect everything down the line. That's why like Crunchyroll is being affected by this.
right.
And every single company that's under that umbrella is trying to make their own decisions to fit that narrative of what that parent company's doing. I think DC is kind of better off overall compared to a lot of the other companies under that umbrella, I would say. But
I can agree with that, yeah, because truthfully, with the decisions that they've made in terms of changes and everything within DC, they've definitely, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but like I don't know any other way to say it, is the sadly the people that they let go were those low hanging fruit that were bringing some of their IPs down.
right.
So that's just how I looked at it, and looking at the people, at least the people that they named that were going away, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Some of them I was like, that's a little bit rough on why you're letting them go, but you know, I'm not the CEO. So.
Yeah, and it's hard to get that clarity, behind those decisions. Like we have clarity,
Hmm.
but we don't have all the clarity that we can get. So we can
Right.
only speculate at this point if we go that deep. Um, just to transition from things like sales, I just want to transition into the comic book section.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you caught up with some of the comic book arcs going on with Batman. We're gonna try to stick to some more Batman related things for this episode, but it's inevitable that we're gonna get to DC stuff as well because it's all
Right.
interconnected. We can't help it. This might even turn into the DC episode anyway. But
Right. And truthfully, it's one of those things that, like, when you really think of it, the best IPs that DC has is Batman.
yeah, yeah. Um, just looking at the comic book list here for sales. I'm looking at just Batman comics being the top sellers. You got your Dark Knight's Death Metal, which recently came out, which
Hmm.
is kind of like DC's version. I want to say it's kind of like DC's version of Battle World. I don't know if you are familiar with Battle World from Marvel. They did this thing where they just smashed together their multiverse into like this big world to just collapse it
Hmm.
again to try to like consolidate their continuity, but it didn't go well. But it's the same thing just with Batman.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
didn't. I didn't. My sadly my touch into the comic books has been very very slow. I've been trying to catch up. I did start reading the Joker Wars. I got a few issues in just to kind of get caught up with it and understand what was kind of going on.
but how do you feel about the Joker War actually? At least that arc. I don't know how you're following it, but I'm just sticking to the mainland. mainline stuff. I
Hmm.
kind of get annoyed because every time there's a big story arc, there's too many tie-ins. So
Right.
as
Yeah, you
far
have to like go and read Batgirl
it,
and Detective Comics and stuff like that. That's how you can get the full story. Um, but I was only reading just the main storyline on it, and from what I did read, it was quite interesting. I already had a few moments where I was like, oh wait, how did this happen? How did that happen? I'm like trying to like, understand what was going on. So
yeah. I mean, I can I'll mark the spoilers in the edits just so that we can kind of cover certain topics inside of those comic books,
hmm
and same thing with the movies and the games. But it's gonna be very apparent when it's a spoiler in the vidcast. I don't know if I'll leave this what I'm saying right now in, but like it's gonna be very apparent when it's a spoiler. Like there's gonna be a bit of
right.
a warning and like a time tags and stuff. But I think that it's good, but I think there's some backlash going on with the way that they introduced like that new character that's
hmm
supposed to be like Joker's
New
new
thing, yeah.
yeah, new girlfriend. I don't think
hmm
it's really that big of a deal, but I feel like people are really not too happy about it.
I did see that on online when they introduced her as as the new thing, and uh, I didn't know how to feel, but I was like, you know what? Sometimes change is good,
Yeah, yeah.
and you kind of just have to see how things go, um and I guess my main thing was like Harley, was brought in much later in Batman's life. It was something that was brought in for the animated series. She never existed in the comic books until they decided to include her in the comics after the animated series.
Yeah, because it's an original animated series IP, which got so
Mm-hmm.
popular that it just took, it took everybody by storm. Just how interesting of a
Right.
character she was, and she's developed over the years. Obviously, with I guess a lot of the changes that have been happening with the DC IPs.
Mm-hmm.
Her friendship with Poison Ivy, which is a consistent pattern with all of any single type of DC comic book that involves Harley Quinn. There's always some sort of reference to Poison Ivy with her, or she's just literally in the comic book with her. Um,
Right.
we'll probably talk about this during the TV movie section, but like just to touch upon it, there's that animated series with Harley Quinn, which is like fantastic. I've seen season 1 and 2 already, and it's amazing. But it really says a lot to how fans feel when the Joker suddenly has a new fling, right? Like people get a little
Mm-hmm.
like iffy. They're like, well, Harley's always going to be the one. um, but it's interesting to see that just her evolution of a character, even
Right.
beyond like things like Suicide Squad and how she's adjusted to that character design change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
she's quite an interesting character, and I always liked how they portray her different sides, because she always has multiple different multiple different personalities kind of going on, and it's funny to see the switches that they can portray in the comics with her.
yeah, and I think that's why the backlash was going on with the new character,
Mhm.
which she's not bad. She's pretty clever. She has some smart tricks up her sleeve that Harley never really committed to. And I think it makes the comic book a bit interesting. I don't know if she's like the perfect character. I think there's a lot of like blandness, or maybe the comic book just hasn't developed enough yet, like the comic book arc. So
Right.
we have to kind of wait and see how that goes. But it's one of like I guess the trifecta of right now of interest with Batman. The other comic book that is really getting interesting is Death Metal, which it bounces off of this other very Batman centric huge comic book arc where there's like a dark multiverse, and there's this version of Batman where he killed the Joker and turned into the Joker from the toxin and just completely destroyed his entire universe, just took over it. And he's back, and he's somehow he's causing chaos and kind of changed the entire like universe into this weird mesh of a multiverse. I don't want to get into details into how that happened, just because I don't want to like spoil it for you. But it's pretty wild. There's so many different kinds of Batman. There's a Batman who's a car. There's one who's a dinosaur. It's crazy. It's really crazy. There's one that has that has the powers of Dr. Manhattan, which is insane. It's crazy. It's a very interesting comic book.
I did hear about the Batman with Dr. Manhattan powers.
Yeah. It's really great. It's a good comic book. And I think that based on sales, you can tell that people have a really big interest in Joker War, Death Metal, and the most recently, the Three Jokers. I don't know if you've seen anything about that comic book.
I saw a bit of it. I didn't get to read the comic book. It's on my list of to-dos. But it is very interesting to see that concept was brought to fruition, and which kind of makes sense on why they never gave the Joker a true name.
Right.
It was always just he was an identity in a sense, and they never gave him a full-on, like, at one point they did give him a backstory of the falling into the pit and all that stuff, and that's why the whole like one bad day type of thing comes into play. But now with the Three Jokers, it's very interesting of a concept, and I really wanted to read through those. But I have no problem with spoilers if you want to spoil some things for me, because truthfully, the quote unquote like no spoiler zone is way past due for that. And
because I didn't want to spoil things that you didn't already read or see. But I mean, if we could, I can bounce into it. But I'm still going to put spoiler warnings and everything beforehand, obviously in the actual vidcast. But
right,
it's a very interesting take, because it's this guy, Jeff Johns, who did DC Rebirth, which is one of probably the thing that saved that whole revamp of New 52 by giving it a better consistency with all their characters. There was a hint that Batman got when he sat on the Mobius chair, I think it is, where it's like this omnipotent chair or whatever. He asked who Joker is, and the answer was there's three Jokers, and it showed him three Jokers in one of the in the answer, and he saw like three Jokers on this like weird panel thing that the Mobius chair has, and then it wasn't referenced again. They just left it, and after all that time, we're finally getting some answers from it. It's very clear that when you read through the comic books, there's references to everything in the Batman lore. It's in the preview pages, so like I don't think you would mind getting it spoiled or whatever. But it shows all of Bruce Wayne's scars, like from each different villain. His back has scars around up and down his spine from when Bane broke his back. He has a scar on his stomach from the Riddler's cane. He has scratch marks on his back from the Penguin's staff. And interestingly enough, they show three different scars from three different incidents from the Joker, which it's a good and interesting juxtaposition and showing what's going to come about next, because the one Joker is kind of like the Silver Age Joker, very on the nose about the fact that he is the guy who killed Jason Todd, and he has all of these weird references to his Silver Age era. There's a scene where they end up at an aquarium, and all the fish have the Joker toxin, so they have that weird, creepy smile on them. Because
Okay.
it's a very famous Joker story from the Silver Age, where he tried to
Right.
he tried to poison the water, and all the fish got like those weird smiles and stuff. And he's very goofy and crazy. And then you have the Killing Joker, who he has like the Hawaiian shirt and the creepy hat and everything, just the exact aesthetic you would assume to see. And interestingly enough, the three main characters in that at least in the first issue is Bruce, Barbara, and Jason, and they're
Oh,
teaming
okay.
up to take on this, and obviously they all have very personal feelings about what's going on, and the whole comic book, at least for the
Right.
first issue, is based around scars. So you see all the scars Batman has, you see the scar Jason Todd has on the back of his head, you see the scar Barbara has from the Killing Joke, and it's
Wow.
very full of rich references that, if you're really a big Batman fan, you'll see it and you're just gonna like drool at it. Like, I've read through this comic book like maybe 5 6 times just to catch everything. There's so many details to everything involved. But the third Joker, he's serious. He's not smiling. He's very to the T. I feel like he has a mixture of Heath Ledger and a bit of Jack Nicholson, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
He doesn't have the smile of Jack Nicholson, but he has the demeanor and the way he's acting. It's
Mm-hmm.
very it's very interesting. There's just so many references to all the different kinds of Jokers that you could think of, that it's rich. It's like worth getting. Absolutely. Like, I can see why the comic book sales for this comic book is getting pretty good reviews. But what's your take on it? Like, what do you think about how the story might play out? Like, do you think this is a story worth looking into as a Batman fan? And if it is, like, what is it that appeals to you about it?
For me, the main thing is Joker. At least back when I was really big into reading comic books, was always that enigma. You know, you never knew where he came from. He just became because of the Batman. Um, and has always, before has always been the, I guess best way to say it is the other side of the coin to Batman.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So them kind of throwing in this dynamic that it hasn't been only one, that there is three, very it puts in a very unique tone on how Batman's dynamic with Joker has been throughout the years, or how they implement it. At least how they I want to see how they show like the differences is my main thing. So that's what would draw me to this is, okay, there's three Jokers now. How are they going to portray some of the things that happened in the past? Um, and as you said, one's the Joker that killed Jason Todd. The other one's the one that uh, paralyzed Barbara. So like those different stories that we all thought were the same person are now two different or three different people. How are they gonna bring up the character development of those three individuals to make it seem like it was one person? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, in true Joker fashion, like you mentioned, he's a very elusive is the word I
Mm-hmm.
think that I would use for him. He's elusive in the way his background has always been, and this comic book doesn't sway away from that. It doesn't speak in solids or like, you know, like, yeah, this is the Joker that did this and this is the Joker that did that. You're still kind of not
Mm-hmm.
sure, but you know that there's something else going on, and even as the reader, you feel like he's playing a joke on you as well, and I like that because you feel like even
Mm.
you as part of the audience are being affected by the way the Joker is planning this scheme out. Um, Now, that being said, because the mystery is where it's at, would you feel odd if it's all explained to you about his origin? Like, the mystery is gone after the three, because it's 3 issues. For some reason, I guess there might be an epilogue. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but how would you feel if they explained it to you? I'm not saying what it will be, because I don't know, or speculating on what it will be. But if it was explained to
Right.
you, do you think that would remove the the elusive nature of the Joker? Would it make him less interesting?
So that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword, and that's why like writers for comics have to be very precise on what how they portray a story. Um, and I feel like if you do, then as you say, the mystery is gone. So then the pursuit of that character almost goes away. At least for me. So for me, I would not want them to show everything. I would like to see portions or things that questions that we've had in the past, some answered, not all, but some. And that's why, it was, at least years ago, the main question was like, who's the Joker? Where did he come from? And then they came up with, the One Bad Day story arc, um, and explaining who he was and how one thing led to another, and that caused the creation of the Joker. And on that fact, it was Batman that created the Joker.
Right.
You know.
And
So
there's another implication. I don't know if it's a New 52 thing. I have to look. I have to review that later. But there's another ongoing theory that the Joker's been alive since Gotham started, and that he's been alive this whole time from going into the Lazarus pit,
hmm
and he's gone in it so many times that he eventually just went crazy.
when
But
it's
that's like that was like, I think
well,
that's like a New 52 thing, and I think it got like retconned or something. I'll have to look that up, but
hmm,
that's kind of like a different theory, and I
that
think that's why it's implied that there's 3 Jokers. But that's just me speculating, and
right.
like you said, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
And that theory would be interesting because, um, the fact of the Lazarus pit is that when you come back, every single time that you do, if not done properly, you could lose a bit of humanity. You become the demon, you know, a bit more. Um, and so seeing that where he, if that is true, and he finally snaps and, just keeps growing from that, that would be an interesting story arc that they could play. Um, if that is something that is canonized now. Uh,
Yeah, because it was like implied, but that's just
hmm
it was implied in New 52, but I don't know if DC Rebirth took that upon it. It's Joker's so elusive that it's hard to really uh, solidify that kind of thing for him specifically, at
Yeah,
least.
and truthfully, we do have to look, at least in the present, we have to look at from Rebirth on. A lot of stuff previously, even though that I kind of look at it as almost like how Disney treats Star Wars. You
Right.
know, like there's the legacy stuff. So for DC, all the stuff that happened before the New 52 is legacy stuff, and they can canonize it by referencing it or calling upon it in a new comic. But
Exactly. So
the
like that's so for Batman comics in general, for Rebirth, no
mhm,
one knows when or if it's canon unless DC makes a reference to it, and then you're like, okay, now this is canon. Like for the longest time,
yeah,
I think there was a few, there was a few big like issues, like big Batman arcs that like people didn't know if it was still canon until they made a reference to it, and then everyone was like, let out a sigh of relief. I forget which ones it was, but like it was a very funny thing to see. Like people just going, okay, this is canon, great, awesome.
hmm
But yeah,
yeah, and like because there's a lot of, at least when I was looking into Rebirth, because I didn't get to read most of it, but I am starting to read some of it. Um, like even some of the origin stories for many of them, for many characters,
right,
even
right,
Batman, were completely rewritten or haven't been told until later on.
right, yeah. And that's the thing about DC is that they don't redo their
hmm
significant like story arcs, they just reissue the same thing in like a a special edition or whatever. Because Marvel, they'll take their actual arcs and they'll redo them in like a new modern way, and it doesn't always go well, and sometimes they make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I think DC did that with like I think it was Superman Year One. They really shit the bed with that one, but like it was not a good comic
if
book.
I'm not mistaken, yeah, because not Batman, Superman Year One was, I heard really bad things about.
It was a shit show. Like I didn't like it because it's under the Black Label line of comic books. It's supposed to be more adult,
yeah.
but it just really didn't work. Just to transition over into movies and TV show trailers. I want to bounce off of you on this. So what trailers have you seen from the trailer dump so far?
So the trailer dump, I seen every single one. The only ones that I haven't looked at were like the Shazam ones. I only seen the primary one.
Right.
I keep seeing like a bunch of new, at least on my YouTube feed, just a bunch of new like original trailer 2, original like. Okay, I'm done with Shazam right now. I just care about like Justice League, Batman, Wonder Woman, like the main things.
Yeah.
Or not Shazam, but Black Adam, I should say.
Right. Because I think what is it? Shazam is so the lineup basically is. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm gonna run through these and let me know if you've seen them. I'm sure you covered all of them, but I'm just going through the announcements and we'll go one by one as we go through them because we won't cover things for this year. We'll be covering things more in the future and see how it goes. Because Wonder Woman,
Okay.
we've known for a while, so I don't think there's too much to go off it. It looks great, honestly. I think it's going to be a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if you feel the same.
truthfully, out of all the DC movies, Wonder Woman was probably the best one.
Oh my God, yeah.
That I've seen.
And that's saying a lot because okay. All right. There was one that I like better, but that's my own opinion. I like Shazam better, but that's because I like that goofy shit.
What? I do like Shazam. I will say I did like Shazam. Shazam was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But in terms of like, I want to say like serious aspects of the DC, because like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Batman, like all these different movies, Batman versus Superman or whatever. I should say maybe like the main 6 or 5, I forget how many there are, of the Justice League. Like Wonder Woman was probably the best one.
Yeah, it was a very solid, good movie, and I'm just kind of, I was kind of worried about the trailer before I saw it because I was like, I don't know, because like DC's been kind of a mess with everything. This was before the trailer dump. And I was kind of like iffy about it because I had heard that the production of the movie was kind of like up and down. I don't know, but then like actually, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, well this is I'll watch this. Like I'm gonna watch this. Like I don't want to say no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like, at least for me, the knowing who the main villain is also very big for me.
Yeah.
Because that kind of helps me understand, oh, this is the type of story that they're trying to tell. And I like that they're introducing Cheetah.
Yeah.
Because Cheetah has always been Wonder Woman's, like, I want to say, like, number 2 enemy or number 3.
Yeah, she's been consistent. She's been the most... I'll be honest, she's the most interesting folly for Wonder Woman because people forget that she's a scientist, right? Like...
Right.
She ended up like that from genetic splicing, so it creates this interesting dynamic between science and I guess nature and gods and magic, I guess, and
right.
I like that juxtaposition and ideology, I guess. But yeah, I'm definitely down for this. This is the big mister I want to talk about. This is it. This is my jam right here. You don't understand, bro. Like I saw Justice League, right? And I thought like this was gonna be an okay movie. And then I thought I got the freaking what is it? I'm trying to remember what it was that I said. It was like the Happy Meal version of a Marvel movie, right? That's what we got. We got the Happy Meal version of the Marvel movie, and someone forgot the toy. That's what I feel like Justice League was. That cut. So I was, I felt insulted, man.
Why does that like hits just the way you said that hits home so well. And I'm like, oh my god, that is so true. Like, you got the box, you're so excited to jump in, and then it's just apple slices and a small pack of fries, no toy.
Yeah, I like, the Marvel movies are like the rudimentary, Big Mac with the big fries. It's not like amazing. And I'm not talking about the individual Marvel movies. I mean, like, I'm talking about like the Avengers, right? If we're comparing Avengers and Justice League, Avengers is like the Big Mac and the big soda. Everyone's all together. You get a big combo meal. You don't feel so great after. You feel like it could have been better, but you're okay with it. The Justice League is like the Happy Meal, right? You still feel kind of shitty afterwards, but you really felt like you got ripped off. Like, you didn't get enough out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
And after seeing, like, the Snyder Cut, I could see where the movie was supposed to go and what the vision was. And I could see, like, yeah, this is what the movie was supposed to be. And I was pretty hyped for it.
I'm actually pretty excited about the Snyder Cut. There was a lot of editing choices that I wish they didn't do. And I saw, at least primarily, with the Snyder Cut, like, all those editing choices from the scenes that I could pick up. I was like, oh yeah, that's that scene that I really didn't like, but it kind of looks pretty good now. It's kind of that moment.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited.
Cause like, from a filmography perspective, when you shoot something with a specific vision and someone else with a different vision comes in and is told to make the movie a different way, it's hard to take that footage and interpret it into something else. It's kind of like when you're watching Justice League, like the original cut, and Ben Affleck has like a different, there's different lighting, his hair looks a little different, like there's just all of these inconsistencies with it that made the vision just so weird. And I'm glad to see this. I'm excited, even if I don't end up liking it. I'll be happy to see how it was supposed to be in the first place, because that production was a mess.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The Suicide Squad. I'm okay. Let me look this up real quick, because this is confusing to me. I've seen the animated shows, the movies, and I thought they were pretty great. But I'm trying to understand.
The animated ones are pretty good. I've always said one thing when it comes to DC movies and Marvel movies.
Right.
Marvel has it down with the live action.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
Marvel's animated stuff is pretty weak. DC, their live action is pretty weak, but their animated stuff is on point.
Right.
So like, I've watched every single animated movie of DC. Even the new, like, the final arc that they did with the Flashpoint and ending with Apocalypse War.
Right.
Like, I watched those through, and like, I think I watched that through in like 2 days. I just binge watched every single thing. But with the new Suicide Squad, I'm just not. I don't know. I'm Suicide Squad. The first one was okay. Again, DC movies are okay.
Right.
But like, the cast that they have, even though they're good actors, I feel like there's too many.
That's the whole point. Here, see, okay, all right. Let me give you a hot take, right? Because I didn't like the original Suicide Squad. I feel like I had the same problem where like they just cut it differently or whatever. I don't care. I don't even want. I don't feel like about seeing the original cut. Here's like my list of gripes right now. I'm gonna give you some hot takes. So, I don't like that they switched it from Suicide Squad, the original, to the Suicide Squad, instead of just giving it like, how like the animated movies have like Suicide Squad so and so, right? They have like a name. They're like
subtitle.
Yeah, they're like, nah, let's just add the in front of it. Right?
Well, what do you expect? It's like the Fast and the Furious, type of situation.
But these movies didn't even come out like they're not that far apart. There's no point. Like you're gonna tell me you couldn't just add like a subtitle to Suicide Squad, like Suicide Squad,
Right.
whatever, second shot. I don't know. Like it's just
Suicide
so
Squad, too many members.
yeah. But here's the thing, like in the comic books at least, they specifically add more members because they're gonna kill them off anyway. So a lot of these
Right,
people,
yeah.
they're not gonna make it out. Like most of these characters are not gonna make it out. This is just like
Yeah, they're
a
probably gonna die within like the first 30 minutes.
yeah. I like that they took that idea from the comic books, but I think there's a scummy underbelly reasoning behind this, and I fucking know what it is. Oh my god, I know what it is. You want to know what it is? They're getting all these celebs on here. You know, they're
Hmm.
probably gonna die within like the first like 5 minutes. Who knows? And they're just doing this for audience draw. I bet you John Cena
Oh
is not
yeah.
gonna make it
Well,
like 5 minutes into the movie. He's gonna
like
die 5 minutes in.
like Pete Davidson. All right,
Yeah,
comedian, pretty funny dude. 100% got him because they want his fans to jump in. John Cena, Idris Elba,
yeah,
Nathan Fillion, which I don't know what the hell he's doing in there.
yeah.
Like
That's a
he should
weird that he is in there.
Nathan should be doing the Uncharted movie. Like that's gotten like the third director. No, not even third. I think it's like the fifth or sixth director
I've given up
in
at
a
this
matter
point. How
of.
many? It's like a what is it? It's like the musical chairs of directors at this point.
Yeah, no one wants to touch that one.
Yeah,
Like, I, I don't know why Taika Waititi's in there. Like, I love him. He's freaking fantastic with Thor Ragnarok. Just go back to Marvel and stay there for a bit.
yeah.
Actually, isn't he directing this one? I forget.
James Gunn
No,
is.
James Gunn is doing this one. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot. Which I like James Gunn. I gotta admit, he's a good director. But
Yeah, and
nonetheless,
like, man, like I want to like this movie because I do like Suicide
I
Squad, like the team, and I do like Harley Quinn as a character, and in other media, but I just don't think it's gonna work. Like they keep pushing
that's the
this.
thing. For me, when it comes to the live actions of any DC movie, I'm very skeptical.
Right.
I love, you know me. I'm wearing my Batman shirt. I love DC. I love Batman. But when it comes to their movies, I'm very skeptical on everything that they do. I never, I'm pretty sure I have never went to the theater and watched a DC movie since like Dark Knight Returns.
Wow, that's a long time ago. You didn't even see? Oh my god, that's crazy.
Not in theater. I don't go to I'm sorry, but I just can't spend like for me a movie experience, like for me to go to the movie theaters, it has to be a movie I really want to see, and I mean like really want to see and enjoy.
Mm.
I have seen every single Marvel movie. I have never seen, I think, yeah, I'll correct this. Sorry, I just remembered. I did go to see Batman and Superman in theater, but I didn't pay for it. I went because a group of my friends went to go see it and they paid for me.
Oh man, whew. Wow, Ben Affleck
So,
is rolling in his bed right now.
but I will say this for Batman and versus Superman, I didn't care too much about certain aspects, but I did like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
specifically.
He plays a
It
really
finally
good Bruce
showed,
Wayne.
right. It finally showed that side, and there's always been that issue with Batman actors, is it's a flip of a coin. It's like either you're a good Bruce Wayne or a good Batman. It's hardly ever true that you're both. Michael Keaton, best Batman and Bruce Wayne, hands down.
I'm willing to argue that point though. I think he's a better Bruce Wayne than he is a Batman, but I think okay. Here's my take. I think that Ben Affleck is still a pretty good Batman. I think he's a better Batman
He's not.
than Michael Keaton was, in the way he portrayed it. You can't write. He can't write his own script. Unfortunately, he got a bad script with his lines. But the way his brooding was compared to Michael Keaton, okay. But Michael Keaton was a better Bruce Wayne than Ben Affleck was. I feel like that's where the tier is. But the Batman thing is very marginal. It's very slight.
Mm-hmm.
As Batman. I don't mean as the movie, but just as the Batman. That's my hot take on
Yeah.
it. I think.
I can feel you.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, but the main thing that I did like with Batman vs Superman is they finally showed the more detective side of Batman,
Mm. Yeah.
and that's the part that I like, because like, let's be honest, Batman, even though he's a cool super, well, I don't know what people always get into the argument if he's a hero or superhero. He's a cool character. Let's put it like that. But the main draw for him is his how smart he is, his brain. And that's where the character truly, like for me, truly lies, is how he solves the different mysteries that are put in front of him. Like, I grew up reading, the detective comics and seeing all the comic books that came through were him solving crimes, through using his brain, using his tools, and that detective side of him. That's what I love,
Yeah,
and that's where
and I
and
feel
that's
like
what I loved
the
about
oh, go ahead.
Batman vs Superman.
Oh, because like people forget that like Batman's side title is the world's greatest detective. Like
Yeah,
they don't take that and run with it, right? They always go like, okay, he beats up uh,
it's the
random
action
guys.
because, like, in all honesty, for Hollywood, what sells? Action, sex, things like that. I understand it, but at least have tidbits. Something. Show it. Show that you understand the concept of the character. You
Yeah,
know, like all honesty, Marvel's doing a fantastic job by sticking to most of the. I want to say mostly the true depths of their characters. Sometimes there's some character choices that are skeptical, but the majority of the time they are sticking to what their character's true essence is.
yeah, but
And I,
there is another side to that because the legacy of Batman and Superman is has way more years than the legacy of like Marvel comics, right? So
true, true.
if you take it into account, there's a lot of people who want to stick to the legacy. A lot of like old wigs, like
Mhm.
old gods, I guess you would say that want to say, okay, Batman has to be doing this and he has to be doing that, and so does Superman, and you can't change that, and
Mhm.
you're not allowed, and that could cause some conflicts. I mean, that's kind of like I'm just just to play the other side. I don't necessarily agree
Yeah.
with that either, but I feel like that might
Yeah.
be where the pull and take is, the give and take.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we kind of went off topic
Woo,
on this
yeah,
on
no,
the
but
Suicide
that's
Squad
fine.
thing.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
We covered
But
this.
yeah, like for Suicides,
You know, just to bounce off of that, we're still. I mean, what was your take on the that trailer for the Batman?
truthfully, I was like before the trailer, I was very skeptical and very harsh on Judgment.
Oh,
Primarily primarily because, and this is just, I guess it's a bias that I have, I don't like Robert Pattinson that
you
much.
see, I had the inverse, because I think he's great, but I think he gets a bad rap because he was in those Twilight movies. He's generally
Yeah,
pretty
and
good.
I do agree with that. He does get a bad rap, but like once I kind of saw the trailer and I took it for what it was, and I was really like I watched it primarily like two or three times normally, and then I watched like a few movies, or not, a few videos of like the deep dives and like the breakdowns and trying to point out every little thing of the trailer. And after watching it a few times, I was like, you know what? I'm behind this. I can get behind him being Batman.
Mm. Cause he's a green Batman, right? He's
Very, yeah,
still
it's
getting to figure it out.
it's supposed to take in year two
Yeah.
of the Batman. It's and you kind in here we can kind of read
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
loosely based on the Batman Zero storyline, which the Batman Zero storyline was year zero, so beginning of it and him going through the months, kind of uh, getting used to the Batman role and getting introduced to these characters, and his, the other side of the coin, the villains that he was fighting. Um, and there's a lot of implications on the people that he's going up against. Um, and with this one, we see him going up against the Riddler in the trailer. And what's very interesting with with this one is and again, this kind of points back to my favorite part of Batman vs Superman is we're seeing the detective side
Mm.
of this Batman. Like from the clues that I was seeing is like, Riddler's leaving these clues and who he's attacking and so forth, and you're seeing into the Riddler's biggest thing is the lies that are portrayed in the city or that are in the city, and dug deep into like the police corruption and city official corruptions. And at least for me, I saw the tidbits of Batman being a detective, and that's what draws me in. Aside from the action and the acting that that Robert Pattinson can do.
Yeah, because
And
in
it being
in a
Go ahead.
sense you have to add a thriller aspect to every Batman medium that you have, right?
Hmm.
Just to go all the way back to the Batman the animated series, it was basically a thriller. You know, you were constantly on the edge of your seat. You know, is he gonna figure out what's going on? Is he gonna get out
Right.
safe and stuff like that? But a lot of the Batman medium and main movies, it's just too much action, and not enough actual investigating. Because when you investigate, there's tension. You know, you're trying to figure out
Hmm.
what's going on. So it's kind of like it's like a thriller. It's like a novel. So that connects. I mean, I feel like it connects to that detective aspect, and I think if they can integrate that in a way where you can connect with Batman other than him being a billionaire who beats up people, it
Right.
gives that other layer to things.
Right. And him is kind of seeing him, which kind of makes me laugh. Is uh, I like the suit choice that they made for a Batman that is a year or 2 years into his Batman career. Um, the Batsuit looks, it's like if you look at it, it's not you know ballistic gel armor like high tech type of thing. It's um like if you kind of look at it, it literally looks like beefed up hockey pads. Like his Batsuit, I do really like the look and feel of it. So like his boots aren't like military grade boots. They look like just heavy dark boots.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
like that's a pretty
Yeah,
good
I
sight.
see what you mean now.
So
Yeah,
like
it's
it,
it.
it's not a souped up bat suit. It's a beginning suit. He's just getting started. Um
This
and
really
one
year
aspect that I
zero
really
suit.
like was the bat symbol that he has on his chest. It's not just like a piece of metal. That's actually, if I remember reading this right, that's actually the gun that killed his parents.
Oh wow! So they really integrated that into the.
Yeah,
Okay.
like like somehow, I don't know if they're gonna tell it in the story, but the aspect, because if you really get a close in on the suit, you can see like the barrel markings and stuff of the bat symbol, or in the bat symbol, I should say. Um,
I can kind of
but
right here. Yeah.
yeah, so like I don't know how they're gonna if they're gonna touch it in the movie, but when people like the costume designers and directors and writers were interviewed, one of the questions was inspirations for the suit, and they said that at one point he gets the weapon that killed his parents, and
Hmm.
he embeds that into the crest of his suit.
Oh, that see, that's a very like year zero type of thing, like beginning
Hmm.
of the Batman lore, establishing like I said, just like a green Batman that's like just trying to process all of the revenge or vengeance he's going to be taking on the city of Gotham to save his city,
Right.
so to speak.
The Batman Begins, like the Batman the Dark Knight trilogy, uh, those bat suits were okay, but it was one of those things that it's again it didn't fit right for especially in Batman Begins, that it was a Batman that's a uh
Yeah, you sure you don't like this one? You sure this isn't? I'm gonna put it in the video. You sure this isn't the one that you
Yeah,
love. This is my favorite. This is my favorite.
That's my favorite. That's it
Yeah.
right there. That's perfect.
You sure you don't
Oh
like
God,
these
don't even.
the little
No.
bat nipples?
God. Yeah. That was
yeah.
that was so horrible.
I'll be honest. This one has a special place in my heart. This guy right
Dude,
here.
Look at that utility belt. That thing's on point.
That's not even like a dude. That's my mom's belt that she wore at her quinceañera. Like that's not a bat belt, man. that's the belt that the girl at the clubs wear around their like
Dude,
dresses.
The point of his ears aren't even. Like one's longer than the other.
Yeah, how about you got your lipstick, you got your lip gloss, you got your what is your eyeliner?
Your eyeliner and then a coin purse.
Me at the club.
Oh my God, I've never even seen that, to tell you the truth. Oh
I don't mean to segue. I might do this sometimes just to engage the topic, but you know, you got this one. You know, this one's not all right. Let's rank these, right? Let's rank this insider bat costumes because I'm digging this right now. All right.
Is this like wait? What's the list here? Is this just all like
every actor who's played?
Oh,
yeah,
worst to best.
Yeah, every single actor that's played Batman. But we're not gonna look at this. We're gonna just look at the suits. So I'm gonna edit in. This is just a random segment. Oh, let me just put the text on the screen. Best Batman suits. Let's rank all of our Batman suits from one dead Robin to 10 dead Robins. No, yeah, one Batarang to 10 Batarang. Sorry, yeah, there we go.
All right.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. All right, Michael Keaton.
Yeah. The suit, not the movie, not the
right.
actor, just the suit.
Not the movie, just the Batsuit.
Yeah.
Just the Batsuit. I will say, I'll give it like a 7.5 Batarangs.
Okay.
7.5. It's very rigid.
That's why That's why I say it's 1 out of 10. I do not like. It's very apparent that they did not make the suit for like flexibility, so it bothers me. Just he's so like stiff.
Yeah.
I don't like the design.
I'm actually gonna change my score. It's like a 6.
All right, yeah. And this is not just this is more like on your preference of the suit, not the quality or anything. Like I personally think I don't. Even though this is one of my favorite Batman movies, it's like my least favorite suit.
Yeah. All right.
This is gonna get good. So how do you like bat nipples over here?
Oh God.
How do you like that
my
one?
worst. I hate
George
suit.
Clooney. How is it?
Why Clooney? Why'd you do this to us?
How much out of 10?
Oh.
You got your nice voluptuous George Clooney butt in this one.
I hate this suit. Like it is by far the worst suit I've ever seen in my life. I put this like I don't even want to give it any batarangs. Like it's a 0. Like,
oh my God, you hate it that much?
It looks like a BDSM like type of suit. Like I know that the first one was rigid, but at least it didn't have the nipples. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this is the main like contender for
like
for,
you can't look at anything else.
Yeah. Like even this looks fine, but as soon as you look down here, you're like, whoa. See, for me, if it's
cold in the Batcave.
Yeah, if it was the suit altogether, it's still a 4, because this is the only bat suit that has a bat credit card in the belt. All right, and I don't know about you, but a bat credit card sounds like a pretty ridiculous thing to use. Because you're identifying yourself as Batman in your ID. Like, is this your credit card? Show me your ID. And he shows your ID. It's a Bat ID. Like, you know, how does that work? I don't know. But 4 out of 10 to me. How about this fella? This sexy boy over here.
You know what?
Louis G. Wilson.
I'm giving this a 4, just because like it was a good attempt at a cosplay.
Yeah, it's like the first Batman, so I guess You can't give him too much slack.
The
It's the
only
first
thing that
attempt at a
bothers me
cosplay.
is
Oh my god! I just caught what you said.
like the ears, dude. Like the ears are just. That's what
Yeah,
bothers me.
it's not working. So what do you rank it? 4 out of 10.
I give it a 4. I get a 4.
All right,
4 batarangs.
I give it a 6.5 because
Is it because of the belt?
the belt. Look, I know my mom has a belt like that in her closet. I know for a fact she does.
100%.
And you probably have a family member that does too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm gonna zoom in on
I
it in the
know,
video. Like, all right. So this is Louis G. Wilson. Next is Robert Lowry.
Lowry.
Interesting. What would you give it?
Oh man, what is happening here?
Yeah. It's like someone tried to make a Batman costume, but they weren't sure about what Batman really looked like. They just had a vague recollection of what Batman looked like, and they're like, "Yeah,
Right.
that's him."
I give it like a. I want to give it like a 4 as well, like a 3.
Oh wow!
3.5.
This is my 0.
That's your 0?
Yeah, that's my
Oh
0
God.
out of 10. You know why? It's more because of like this, the head.
I wonder if it's because just of the picture. Can we just look up another picture of what's this person? Robert Lowry, Batman and Robin TV show.
Yeah, let's look up the other
another
one. Robert Lowry.
Let's just see if we can find another. Look at that handsome man.
Yeah, he's a good looking fella. Yeah, no, this is we're still in round boy territory here.
Yeah, never
Yeah,
mind.
this is
Oh, what is
ooh,
that
this
bat
was
symbol?
this was worse. This one looks, dude, it looks worse from the side.
Okay, I'm changing my answer. This is definitely a 0. Oh my
All
god,
right.
dude, look at that bat symbol.
Look at the side. Look at this. Look at the nose.
He is not Batman. He is Black Diablo.
Yes. Yeah, that Batman symbol is not. This is like birthday party.
That's the other one. That's
Oh no, that's the other one. Yeah. Wait.
Did they use the same suit?
They used the picture. I think they used the same suit, and they must have changed at some point.
The bat symbol, but look at that bat symbol though.
Oh wow, that's bad. That's awful.
Look at that.
It looks like a fly with. I don't even know what to call it. That's really bad. I think the suit must have changed. Maybe the suit caught on fire at some point or got ruined, and they had to get a new one.
Probably.
Wow, this is bad.
Yeah, I'm definitely changing that to a 0.
What is this?
Oh my god. I'm changing both the last one to a 0 as well, because that's that suit. That's the other suit.
Yeah, I think they just fit the suit. Maybe that's why they changed the suit, because it fits him. Yeah. He's better built. But I think because he's not as built, they had to change the suits in between.
Yeah. Because
this is, whew, wow.
That's bad. Jesus.
This is Papi Suave. Papi Suave Batman.
He's like all hunched over. The belt's like up to his chest.
He looks like he's holding a beer. Like he should be holding a beer. He does not look like a Batman. He looks like the Batman who got contracted at your kid's birthday party. Whew, that's bad.
And came in drunk.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Okay, yeah. How about this one? Lego Batman.
Lego Batman, I give that a 8.
All right, I'll give it a 7.5. Just because I don't know what it is about Lego and capes. I think capes in general just give it minus 0.5 regardless of what Lego it is.
Oh yeah. But...
I don't know what it is about capes with Legos. It just doesn't. It always bothers me.
It's like a stiff piece of.
Yeah.
That flaps in the wind.
It's just like design wise, it just doesn't fit in the universe. Like they'll make the cape as paint sometimes, but yeah, which is still a good rating. How about this fella right here? This,
I will say Ben Affleck's suit. I like it. I give I don't know, because the suit that this was based off of was very it was, what was that arc? I can't remember.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Returns, was it?
Yeah, Dark Knight
No.
Returns has a similar small ears.
Is
Let me
it?
see. Yeah, yeah. Because that's the only other
It's
movie
old
that he
Bruce,
fights
it's
Batman.
old Bruce Wayne. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is the Dark Knight Returns. Because it's old Bruce.
yeah.
And
There it
I
is.
like that look. I probably give that suit. I want to say like a 7.5.
Okay. I give it. I would give it a 6, but I'm giving it a 7 because I know it was a very good attempt at covering this, but the art style is what gives it favors to the design, right?
Oh yeah,
Because
100%. Yeah.
Dark Knight Returns Batman is like super bulky, like beefcake big. So when you have the small bat ears with big muscles, it kind of gives that juxtaposition as well as the bat symbol. But when you have like a
Right.
normal guy with the suit, it makes everything else look.
Yeah, it hits different. It definitely, because like even the face structure, like the suit around his face seems weird, like off.
Yeah. For me at least, like for a Batman design, there's like a size to ear ratio for me. So
Yeah.
the smaller and less bulkier the Batman, the longer the ears should be. And when that ratio is off, it always looks off. That's like the magic ratio for me for Batman. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I can get back behind that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because like if you look at this fellow over
That
here,
lopsided guy.
yeah, I think the problem with this one is that he's a bit better built, but his ears are a little too long. Well, I mean they're even uneven, but I feel like if it's
One of them, I think if both were the same size as the short one,
yeah,
it would be fine.
yeah. Imagine Ben Affleck in this though. Like they just remade Justice League, but they only changed the suit to this. No, not to this.
No,
I'd
I'm done.
I'd watch
No.
that. I'd still watch that. Instant watch.
Ay.
Okay, we got the Val
Oh,
Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
You still got the bat nipples.
Wait, he had bat nipples in there? I don't remember.
Yeah, he had bat nipples, but they weren't as prominent.
Ugh.
So
Yeah.
here they're glowing because the muscles are accentuating it. But here it's not
Yeah,
as
that's
obvious
true.
because there's not as much muscly stuff. He's the
Yeah,
last.
he's still down there.
Yeah,
It is. It's the nipples, man.
yeah. I agree. I think for me, compared to George Clooney, it's 3 out of 10, man. No back credit card. Forget about it. Like the design kind of sucks, and without the back
Yeah.
credit card, there's no memes. There's no. I
Yeah,
can't.
and like my biggest issue with some of these is like they try to accentuate the bat symbol into like the chest.
Yeah,
And
it's too centered.
It looks awkward.
Yeah. It's like way too centered. Like compared to like here, say what you will about the suit, but at least the bat symbol is spread out. Same thing with here. Same thing with here, spread out. The bat symbol. I mean, this one's tiny, but still. But then you go here, and like you said, it's like plated. It's not quite the best. I think the first one's plated too. Yeah. That's another reason why I didn't like it.
Very big thing back in like the 80s and 90s with these
Yeah.
movies.
I think the comic books did the same. They plated like the.
Because that's why is because if I'm not mistaken, around the 80s and 90s, Batman's suit did change and it had that plated. The symbol wasn't part of the chest; it was part of the cowl,
Yeah. Exactly.
and that's what. And truthfully, I think that's probably why like some of the bat suits I like more now because it's part of the chest
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not part of the cape and cowl.
It's a better design. It's like when Superman
Yeah.
stopped wearing underwear, I guess. Here we go. The Adam West Batman.
Adam West has a special place in my heart.
But the
He
suit.
with the suit, because that was a classic, especially with the Batmobile. I will give it. I'm gonna give it a 6.5, just because a few things are off.
Yeah, like
me
the bat
in that
symbol over
picture.
here.
Yeah, bat symbol is like in his abs.
Yeah. Speaking of
It's
bat
like
symbols,
he's-
yeah, it's pretty in there.
Yeah. The cape and the cowl kind of look weird. Like it's
Yeah,
definitely separate pieces.
Halloween costumey kind of Batman for sure.
Yeah.
But I think
It's
it's
like
it's
they went to Spirit Halloween and pulled this off the shelf.
yeah. I think like I don't want to say it was intentional, but I think it's of the era, and I will give
I
it the
can see that.
same. I would say 6.5 out of 10.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah. I can. Especially '60s was. I feel like that is a mark of that era.
Yeah, and you can't blame him for this suit. I would definitely blame him for this suit because at this point we're peak Batman.
19.
This is
Yeah.
bad. um, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. You know what? I like the Christian Bale suits. Now the thing is that he's had wasn't it was it three different suits or two different suits?
Let's check.
I forget. I think he had I feel
Christian
like it was
Bale.
two because I think they used the same suit in the first two, and then when he came back, he got a new one.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right about that. Let me. Batsuit. Hey, we got a Batman fandom site. That's good. So we can. Yeah, because the Batman Begins suit.
Yeah, there was two of them. Yeah, you can see appearances.
Yeah.
Batman Begins and Batman. Yeah, and Dark Knight.
So this one was in Dark Knight, and
Yeah.
Batman Begins. So we got the plating is very clean. I would say
Mm-hmm.
it's more intimidating. This I'm gonna say off the bat. I think it's like a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Like I love it.
I truthfully did like the first suit more. I actually like the first suit more than I like the second suit.
Mm.
Um, and it wasn't anything about like I know for the second suit they were trying to go for like functionality looking, but it was almost too. It almost looked too small.
Yeah. See, I didn't
You know what I
realize there were two
mean?
different suits until now. Yeah. I
It
agree.
looked too small. Like the picture underneath of the picture you have selected is a good one.
Here, this one.
No,
Oh, whoops.
no, over to the left on the white.
This one.
Second row all the way
Oh,
to the right.
this one.
Yeah, that one. That's a
Okay,
good
yeah, there
view
we go.
of the suit.
You know,
So
I 100% agree with you, but like from a story perspective, it makes sense for me.
yes, yeah, and that's why I understand where they went because he was evolving
Yeah.
as Batman. I just feel like a few of the choices that they made could have been better.
Yeah.
Um,
Cuz
maybe even accentuating because as you can kind of see here, he has that like multi-layered armor
mm, and
almost,
and then in the
and I feel
original
like
there's much cleaner look, right?
it. Yeah, for the original was one like it was one solid piece,
Mm.
and that kind of goes with the evolution of Batman. Um, his suit was very solid and rigid
Yeah.
for this movie. Excuse me, and I like it. I like the look of it. It was very clean, as you said. Um, that's why that one definitely sits at a 9 for me. But the
Yeah.
second one,
The second one
it wasn't bad.
it
Go
had
ahead.
story reasons because he lost a lot of weight from being in isolation and then having
Hmm.
his back broken, so there's a lot of like things going on with the suit that are practical. But if I had to choose between the two, I do like the first one better. And while the first one is 9 out of 10, the second one is like maybe like I'm willing to give it a 7.5 just because it's story related.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with that one. Like it's that's my main thing with it. Like I still like it. It's just
Yeah,
not as much as I like the first one.
yeah, which is understandable. Yeah. Um, we're gonna cover the last one. Oh, well, this is the
Oh,
same
that
one.
was
It's
the
still
Michael
Michael
Keaton.
Keaton, but at least we
Yeah,
had a good look at it. This is not necessarily the last one. We already covered this one, but
yeah.
Do you see what I mean about the suit though? It's very.
Yeah.
He's like Dracula.
This one, yeah, and this one I will say, in terms of functionality, it was not very functional. Again, back in the 80s, very boxy, very very rigid
Yeah.
construction with it. Especially, if I'm not mistaken, when Michael Keaton was referencing this movie, he says even though he loved playing Batman, he hated the suit because
Yeah.
he couldn't breathe in the damn thing. So, like, I still like it because of the look. It was, you know, in terms of live action movie, it was the first, um, and it was a good, at least for me, it was a good comic to movie translation.
Yeah.
And they kind of got that same feel with, and this just kind of sits with me as like one of my favorite movies because of the fact that they hit home with a lot of how Batman is and like how Gotham City is and like the craziness of Gotham City with that
Mm.
movie.
The aesthetic feel of Gotham was very. I mean, it always sounds stupid when I say it, but it's a very gothic
Yes.
feeling to the city, and I think I know what you're getting at. It's like this is what Gotham is supposed to feel like when you picture Gotham in your head every
Right.
time.
Right.
And that feel was really well captured in the movie, especially like the suit's aesthetic fits that, and I'm totally with you on that.
So
Um,
yeah, that's just how it is, how I feel.
I do marginally like better Batman Returns Batsuit. It's
Is
slightly
it? Oh,
different. There's less
I
stiffness
did.
to it.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I didn't know that they changed the so unlike with you with Batman, Batman Begins and Dark Knight, I didn't actually know that they changed it for the Batman Returns one.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't know either, but I figured I'd look it up just to be sure. And it
Right.
is different, and
Yeah.
and there is. I do like it better than the other suit. See, while I would give the
Yeah.
original like a one, what was I think I gave it like a 1 out of 10. Yeah, 1 out of 10. I give the Batman Returns at least like a 5 out of 10, just because it's like an improvement of the original suit, and I like it better.
Right.
Um, yeah. So what we're gonna do for today? How do you think?
Yeah.
How would we close out the show? Like that's the thing that I don't know. I'm not too sure of how to do. I'm not good at closing things out. Um,
Uh,
like
I
like
guess the best thing that we could do is um, kind kind of just say.
let me tell you, man, I am really bad at closing shows. I'm gonna need your help here.
All right. So I can help with that because I'm actually pretty. I'm okay with closing out a show.
All right, all right, all
So.
right. Yeah.
All right, well, that's our time for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. Uh, we'll catch you next time on the next episode. We'll have hopefully some new and exciting topics to talk about. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out our other social media platforms down below in the comments.